The story begins in the early 20th century when this hill, which I refer to as Honors Hill, was owned by the Marshall family, and they moved up here and started a small family farm here on this hill. And then in the 19-teens, a real estate developer from what became Fort Thomas decided he had this brilliant idea of opening up a fox farming business. And he raised foxes and minks to sell for fur from the 19-teens to the 1960s. In 1968, the real estate developer had stopped fox farming by this point, and he had sold this property to a retiring couple, and the retiring couple is who built this house that we see now, and they were building it as their retirement house, looking out over another farm and another pond that existed where the Bank of Kentucky Center is now. They would have had a beautiful view. The same year their house was finished was the same year this site was selected for Northern Kentucky University. And so my understanding is they never moved into their dream retirement house. They sold it directly to NKU. Eventually, one of the vice presidents moved into the house as his home, and starting with NKU's second president, it became the president's house.
Well, the tradition was that the president of the university did live in what is now the Honors House. And Rachel and I lived there for about 3 months, but our preference was to live off campus. The Honors House didn't lend itself well to the kind of life that a president lives. There's a lot of entertaining, and the Honors House is large in terms of square footage, but small in terms of the rooms. The house was always intended to be an interim thing. We had lived out in the suites initially, and then we moved into what at that time was the president's house, now the Honors House. We moved into that, I think, early fall, and stayed there for 2 or 3 months. And it was a nice experience. But there was no consideration at that point of it being the home for the honors program. That evolved soon thereafter.
And it went through a number of iterations. When President Booth was here in the 80s, he rearranged and greatly expanded the house here. And then eventually that brings us to President Vortruba, who lived here briefly, and then he decided it was better used as a campus resource for a campus program, and in 1999 it became the home of the honors program.
It was important to me that we provide for very high ability, highly motivated students who want to have a deep intellectual experience while they're at NKU. At the time, there was no physical space other than, I think, a small room over in Landrum. And Tom Zaniello, who was the director of the honors program, came in to see me one day to make the case for an extra $4,000 or $5,000 to augment the honors program. And I said, sure, let's do that. But let's also talk about the future of the program in terms of what is now the president's house, but could be the honors program house. And it was important, I think, for the honors program, if it's going to be all that it could be, to have a home, a physical location, and that felt like a house. It felt like a home.